If you're a Nigerian, an African, a millennial, a reader, and especially a lover of love, aka you like romance, this name will ring a bell. Myne Whitman. Myne, aka Nkem Akinsoto, is the founder of the hot 2010s blog Naija Stories and the author of 2 romance novels with homegrown Nigerian lead characters. I'm so excited to talk to Nkem about immigrant life, raising 2 girls, and living out her own love story abroad. This episode of the Zero Generation podcast is for the girlies and the boys who love love. Enjoy. So the Zero Gen Flex is something, as someone who left Nigeria to come to America and has built a life here, what is one thing that you look back on that you're like, I did that just makes you proud and happy, and that you want to brag about even to people who don't know you that well? That's the essence of the Zero Gen Flex.
Probably keeping my accent, because that always comes up. People are like, whether it's in Nigeria, and I just came back from Nigeria a week ago, or here, people are like, how long have you been in America? How long have you been in America? I've been here over 15 years, 16 years actually. And yeah, I like that I kept my Nigerian accent. Since I had my kids, they've been making me change a little bit, but yeah, I'm really glad. But I think the other thing is just being able to code switch. Like, when I'm in Nigeria, I can enter the danfo. Like, I entered keke, I don't know the tricycle.
Oh.
And when my brother heard about it, he was like, why? Why did you do that?
Why are you risking your life?
I'm like, millions of Nigerians take this mode of transport every day. So I'm not, like, for me, that's
not by choice.
It's a mode of transport. And yeah, like, the cars were all taken and the driver said, oh, he's done for the night. I was like, I need to get where I'm going.
Was it just you or did you?
It was just me.
Okay.
It was just me. Yeah, my husband would.
You risk his life and your children's lives. So, it's interesting because I noticed you were speaking, before, like, right when I saw you before we came in. I noticed I picked it up in my ears, and I don't think it was like semi-conscious. I was like, oh, like her Nigerian accent is still very alive and well. So what was it a conscious decision?
No. No and yes. No in the sense that, well, I was almost my late 20s before I left Nigeria. And I moved to the UK first. And then I was in Scotland. So no, I wasn't going to pick up the Scottish accent. And then I moved to the US. And maybe I just don't know. In my first couple of years, I was volunteering teaching English as a second language to immigrants through HopeLink. And so a lot of those immigrants, some of them wanted to get better accents, and I would look up ways that they could do that. But that was, made it very obvious to me that this is something that people want to change. So for me, it was like, do I deliberately want to change this? And no, I didn't. I didn't see that there was any need to. So maybe that's awareness so early on in my years in the US just made it feel like, okay, this is a deliberate thing that people change, and I didn't want to do that.
Yeah. I really, really I feel like I say I love that a lot, but I really do love that, the intentionality behind not changing. What are times when, because you talked about code switching as well, when you felt that pressure to switch?
Yeah, like my kids. They're teenagers now, but yeah, they moved to America 6 years ago, and helping them to become more comfortable being Nigerian Americans, I had to also show them by example. So and I have to say, I had to make friends that I didn't plan to, like other moms, other parents, joining the PTSA and things like that. And yeah, the more diverse groups you find yourself in, the more sometimes you just want to easily get understood. Yeah. So yeah, and then my kids themselves, their accents are changing because they are kids. And I understand when someone comes to the US or to a new country as a young person or a young child, it's easier to kind of learn the way they native speak.
Yeah.
But I was old, and yeah. So now with my kids speaking to me in an American accent, sometimes I just flow with them. So
how does that feel? And it's interesting because I thought your kids were here all along. But how does that feel? Like your child talking to you in an American accent? Does it feel odd?
Sometimes I look at them and I smile. It doesn't feel odd. I know it's natural. They talk with their friends.
Yeah.
And they do code switch, because sometimes if I'm just listening in with their friends, their accents are even more American than when they're talking to me. So even them, they do code switch.
Yes.
So no, I just feel like, yeah, we live in America. This is how people talk. So
Was it a conscious decision on your part to have your kids spend their formative years in Nigeria before moving?
no, so we adopted our daughters. My husband and I were married for almost 10 years, and we wanted to have kids, but it just didn't happen. So when we came to that point where we said, okay, we think we've enjoyed life, we really want to share this life with little ones, we decided to go adoption. And we tried to adopt here. We joined the foster to adopt groups, we got some training, but the process was just too cumbersome. And so we kind of widened our net about, okay, where can we adopt from? And in the end, Nigeria was an option. So we ended up adopting from Nigeria. Took its own time to do, but yeah.
I would imagine. I love that. They look so much like you.
That's what people say.
That I would never have guessed. And also now they have their own story of migration, of like coming to the US. And I'm sure when they're older, they'll have things to tell their therapists about their own move. How has being a parent changed you?
There were things that I didn't know about myself, I'll be honest. Like, I thought, being someone who has really examined my life as a single person, getting married, I've really smoothened all the rough edges. But being a parent, man, it showed me that there are edges that have not seen the light of day. Kids they'll press all the buttons, they will press them all and find new ones to press. So I think it's made me more patient, but it has made me more understanding. It has definitely made me more compassionate. I can be very, principled, I expect very high standards. But with kids, sometimes you just have to work with them how they are. So I think I'm more mellow now. Maybe I'm just getting older, but yeah, I think I'm more mellow because of my kids, more considerate. And I think also I've always done, but even more so where I've been able to get in touch with the kid inside, with my kids, we can just be playing.
So going back to when I was introduced to Myne Whitman on the internet, so that was Nkem's pen name, Myne Whitman at the time. Mine. My bad, Myne Whitman. I say Myne. So I'm glad that you've corrected me. So Myne Whitman, and you had a huge readership online. You were, I would say, the first Nigerian fiction romance author that really came out. You were all about love stories. You weren't trying to be, talk about hopelessness or grief or loss, but if not as part of the romance. And you gained a wide readership. My question there is, at the time you put those, when you decided to start writing, was it even a conscious decision to start writing love stories, or were you interrogating something else about your environment? What drove that?
So I've always written romance stories. I came to writing from reading a lot, but also from listening to my dad tell his stories. My dad could tell absolute stories.
Was he a writer as well?
He was not a writer. My dad actually stopped at A-levels. That's his education. But yeah, he could tell amazing stories, and he loved to read. So he had his books all over the house, and he told us the folk stories, like those Tales by Moonlight kind of stories. And, we lived in Enugu, and sometimes NEPA in those days would take lights, the electric company, and our house had a balcony. So we'd go out on the balcony, and my dad would just tell us stories. And there were some that stuck with me, especially the ones that had one lady marrying a spirit, or, the ones that had some relationship stories. Those were the ones that really stuck with me. And then as I grew older, became a teenager, I started reading a lot. I was already reading as a preteen, but I was reading those fairy tales, the Pacesetters and things. But as I got a bit into secondary school, I started reading Mills Boon. I read virtually every available Mills Boon because I could read very fast. And I was reading like 3 or 4.
Where did you get them from?
From school. Like I was anybody. And then I started buying. We had allowance, and then all my allowance
Go to
was
the
going
bookshop
to the
and-
bookshop. And the bookshop had this thing where as long as I brought them back, I could just pay a little bit to take more. So I was reading so much. So yeah, and then so when I started feeling like writing, that was what was coming to my head. Like romance. That was what. So yeah, when I moved here and I said, okay, I want to take my writing seriously. That was what I wanted to focus on. That was still the stories in my head. I guess it was a way. In the UK, I had gone for my master's, so for me, even then, the stories that were coming, maybe they were a way to decompress because the master's in the UK was a 1-year program. It was really compressed, really stressful. So the stories and the imaginations were one way to decompress. Of course, when I read, I could read anything. At that point, I was reading the Nigerian, I would say, literary fiction of the day. Sefeyata, Everything Good Will Come, Chimamanda, Purple Hibiscus. Even I read that in Nigeria before I moved to the UK. But yes, the stories that were coming to me, even now, still just...
Do you still write romance stories?
I don't write anymore. I'm sad to say this. People ask me, when is the next book? I don't know.
You don't know. I feel like it'll come back when
I think so.
you're in a different season.
I think so.
Because we're pretty hands-on parenting now.
Yes, it is a full-time job, like parenting kids, and then I have a full-time job as well.
Yeah. And that's a great segue into my next question is, you talk about being a multi-hyphenate, and you were a multi-hyphenate before it even became a thing. What does that identity mean to you? And, over the years, you were a writer on the internet, but you had a full-time job, or you were a full-time grad student. What does that mean to you that you have these different outlets or these different sides to who you are?
I think it's just my personality. Like, I cannot be locked down. There are things I say to my husband, I think there are labels I can totally accept, but there are some that I'm just so fluid. Like, my personality is very dynamic. There are so many thoughts in my head. Honestly, like, I've actually calmed down now, but there were so many ideas, and as they were coming, I would say, I look at you and your husband and I smile, because that's the best ever. Like, my husband is like so supportive. Like, just bring the idea and he will make it happen. Like, let's do it. So let's do it. It was helpful being married and having that support, so that if I say, okay, I want to do this, give you space, write it down and let's see how we can implement it. If there's something that he could do, he would do it. If it's something I have to do, then I'll do it. But yes, and then, so yes, that helped. Of course, my master's I did before I got married. But yes, writing, working, being a parent. We started a nonprofit here and in Nigeria. And we did a ton of amazing work over the COVID, the pandemic in Nigeria. We donated to more than 10 million naira to Nigeria.
That's amazing.
In 2 years. So for a small nonprofit that just started like 2 years before the pandemic, that was just, so.
Did your public health work help you?
It did. So the main thing that I've always been passionate about, there are many things I'm passionate about, to be honest.
But I can relate.
But one of them is helping people kind of put structure to their ideas and so one thing I learned during my master's is how to develop programs, evaluate them, make sure that something works. So that's one thing I really wanted to pass on. So yes, so our nonprofit in Nigeria was helping people who were volunteers, like, what's your goal, and trying to work towards that more sustainably.
I love that. I mean, 10 million naira in 2 years is huge, because if you had said 2 million, it would still be huge.
It's still huge.
Yeah. So that's amazing. And this was around COVID support. So Awesome. Do you still work with the nonprofit, or
We
that's
actually,
like quiet now?
it's quiet now. We had people working there, but recently we didn't. The people that we had working left, so it's been hard, a challenge in finding someone new who didn't start with us to
Yeah.
kind of keep it going.
Yeah, yeah, makes sense. So let's go back to your romance writing. And you just, spoke about your husband and spoke so highly of him. When you were writing those love stories, were you like calling to your own love story? Or, how did your real life interact with the stories that you were
I'll be
writing?
honest, zero.
Zero. So it was all imagination.
All imagination. People have asked, is it some kind of biography? No. So the two main characters that I've written in my books are very, very different from my husband. They are obviously great men, good to look at. So my husband is a very handsome guy. So there are some similarities, but no, there were no elements from my own personal life, no.
Okay. So was it really just you had read a lot of romance stories and you wanted to write your own? You wanted to like put your own spin on this, canon that you had.
One thing I asked myself is, so I was born in Enugu. My parents were working in the civil service. My mom was a teacher. My dad was in the electoral service. And after my dad retired, we moved back to Asaba. Asaba is more rural, I'll say maybe semi-rural. And we were helping my dad in the farm. And then sometimes, as we were working on the farm, I'll just be daydreaming. And so sometimes what I call back to is, what would that mean? What would I like in my romance, in my relationship life, like in a dream? Like say somebody said, Nkem, what would you like? That's 19-year-old.
A genie came to you.
Yeah, genie, and say, make a wish.
Yeah.
I'll say, give me Edward. So Edward is the main character in my first book. I'll say, that Nkem will say, give me Edward. So that's what I hark back to. So I don't pick from my life. Like my own love story came about differently. So that's not what I'm writing. So I'm writing to that teenage Nkem who, if a genie said, make a wish, how would you like? Yeah, I want a billionaire to just come and sweep me up my face. So yeah.
I have this thing in my mind. I've been thinking about the Nigerian dream.
Yeah.
And I think, there's the Nigerian dream to Jackpot that is more recent.
Yeah.
But I think the enduring Nigerian dream is actually for a billionaire to come and solve your problems.
Yes.
Whether you're a man or a woman. Like as a woman, it would be romantic.
Yes. As a man, it's your helper.
Yes.
Somebody that will just come and, if let's say you're someone that has ideas or dreams,
yes.
someone that will just bring the money to make it happen.
Yes. And I know startup founders today who are still like chasing that Nigerian dream.
Yeah. It's a dream, like soft life.
Yeah.
I have girls and they're growing up now, and I'm a romance writer, and I tell them, like, look, in this life, you can get the billionaire who will sweep you off your feet. Just make sure it's a good guy. Nothing wrong with that.
Yeah.
But also make sure that you can also sweep yourself off your own feet with your own ideas and with your own hard work. So we have to balance it out. But yeah, I think nothing wrong with the soft life.
With the soft life, I know. It's so interesting that you mentioned that billionaire, because I was literally thinking about this, and then I tried to write and it wasn't coming. So I was like, I'll just close this tab for now. But I do think like that billionaire love story. And it's interesting because now you're making me think that a lot of the romance is really authors going into imagination and thinking even more than like the realist kind of fictions. Like I want to paint a dream world where I can ask a genie to give me
give you,
and then they bring us along for the ride. I don't read romance as much, but as a young girl, I read so much Mills Boon.
Oh, you
and
did
like,
too.
My life, like, oh my God, my love story must be epic. And like from historical fiction to, historical romance, to contemporary romance, to Christian romance, anything I would consume.
Honestly, like it takes you out of your like here and now.
Yeah.
Yeah. I love romance fiction.
What, did you get married in Nigeria or after you relocated?
So I met my husband online. Yes. So moving to the UK in Scotland, there were like 1% of blacks in Scotland. I was in Edinburgh. And so I would go online to see what Nigerians were doing or to email with my friends. I was one of the first people on Facebook and things like that. But I did not meet my husband on Facebook. We met on a Nigerian site. I don't know whether it's still active now. It was called Nigeria Village Square. And along the line, we were like...
Were you both like commenting?
Yes.
That's
it's
so romantic.
Just a message board.
This is a love story that needs to be written.
Oh, no.
It doesn't, maybe not you, but I'm giving somebody that idea.
Someone else could make that happen. Yeah. So it is a love story. Like, I am in love with my love story. Like, we were just message boards, anonymous commenters. And I would see this person, I'll be like, this guy or whoever writes so well. And then one time I just said, I've always been bold. I said, so the owners of the website, it used to be just a message board. Then they put the back end social media on there so you could send messages to each other. I was receiving tons of messages, but I was not interested in any of those ones. This guy was the one I was interested in. So I sent him a message and I said...
By this time you knew he was a guy?
Well, he was presenting as a guy, so I just assumed he was a guy. I wasn't sure. But yeah, I sent him a message saying, I like your comments around the board and how's it? I think on the board he had said he was in London. So I said, how is London? So he actually responded. He said, oh, actually I've moved to Seattle. Just it was around Christmas, in just the month before, in November. So he moved to Seattle in November 2007. And this was 2008, or December, that same December or January. I was like, oh my gosh. I shoot my shot and this is what I find. I was like, well, I hope you're settling in well, all the best. And so he responded again. He said, where are you? I said, oh, I'm in Edinburgh. He said, oh, okay. So that was where it ended. But then, like a few months later, he wrote again. He's like, actually, I'd like to join the queue of your admirers.
Oh my God!
I told him, you can come to the front. Just come to the front.
Oh my God!
So yeah,
so
we exchanged phone numbers and emails, and as they say, the rest is history.
Oh my God! I am in love with your love story. I am in love with your love story. And I mean, I'm not going to go into mine, but my husband and I reconnected online. So we met first like years ago when we worked in the same company. I thought he was cute. He thought I was cute, but we didn't like talk apart from like polite. But then during COVID we started chatting online, and yeah, like, so it's, I love that we have that online thing. But yours is just amazing because I can imagine a love story where like that's exactly like you were on the message board, and maybe sometimes you'd spar and then you now met in person. So it's I'm glad you got a love story because you deserve it, because you've written such great love stories. When you think about, raising girls now and shaping their ideas around love, especially Black girls in Seattle, Black girls in America, you talked a little bit about it earlier, but like, what do you hope they take away as they get into the years when they are, exploring love and romance?
I think I would like them to not lose the romance. That has been like one flower in my life. Like, I hope every person, male or female, is able to experience some romance in their life. Like, keep it open, keep an open mind. Like, the world gets so like heated up. Sometimes I see some conversations that are so hot, and there are tough things happening in the world as well. I just feel like people should be open to just allowing love to make their lives a bit smoother, a bit softer, a bit kinder. So, yeah, I think, they are growing up in this new generation where things seem to have changed, but they haven't really changed. My high schooler will come home and say some of the boys in her school are still talking about, oh, your body, my choice, or something like that. Like, they're flipping it on his head.
Yeah, these red pill.
Yes,
and
they're putting all these ideas in these young men's minds. And then, I try to calm her down and I say, yeah, I'm a feminist. I'm actually a bitter feminist. Seriously.
A happily married bitter feminist.
Yes. It's a oxymoron, some said, but
yeah, it is.
It is very true.
Yeah.
So I tell them seriously, like, just know your rights, But the fact that some boys or some men may be challenging or difficult doesn't mean that you might not meet that very nice person that will make your life, beautiful.
Yeah.
So just keep that opportunity open. And yeah, we talk about their their crushes even now. So we've been talking about crushes since I won't say which one, but one of them is boy crazy. Okay, I did this out.
I guess we'll put it on the advisement for anything.
But yeah, so we joke about their crushes, and we also talk about them seriously if, something comes up and I'm like, you like this person, but this is kind of something to be mindful of. Yeah.
So as we start to wind down, I'm curious about what home means to you now, having lived in Nigeria, Scotland, having had your daughters move over and building a life here. What does home mean to you?
There's always a part of me for whom Nigeria is home. Just especially Asaba, where my parents, where we moved after my parents moved to Asaba.
Is any of your parents still alive?
My mom is alive and in Asaba. We actually went back to Asaba to celebrate her 80th birthday. So there's always a part of me but I think after having not lived in Nigeria I've not actually ever lived in Asaba. That's the funny thing. Like when my parents moved back there, I was already I was in boarding school in high school, and then I moved to college, and then I moved to after NYSC and then work in Abuja. So, but somehow that's where home is. Like that's where most of my siblings are. That's where my parents lived. But now I think home is more and more becoming wherever I find myself with my husband and kids. Seattle is home. Seriously, Seattle is home. Like when I first moved there, my husband had been here about 2 years and he was still considering moving. He has a brother in the southeast in Alabama, and was wanting to be a bit closer to his brother. So I said, that sounds okay. Let's go visit. So we went to visit. And then we went to visit my cousin who was in California, then Texas, and all these places. I just told him after a while, like, I don't want to move any of those places. Seattle is just so amazing. I love the Northwest. I love the Pacific Northwest. And, he's been enjoying his job. He works at Microsoft. And along the line, knowing that the Gates Foundation was here was a big draw for me as a public health practitioner. And then I got my job with UW Medicine. And I've been with them for over 10 years now. So somehow it's become where I call home. In America.
That's amazing. And Kim, I feel like I'm looking at myself maybe in the next 10 years because I moved back to Seattle under duress.
Duress?
Under duress.
Seriously?
I left Seattle because I was like, I'm not sure. I'm not fitting in. Looking back now, I think I was in a different mind space. I was single. I was like, I don't really see any prospects.
There are not that many.
Yes. And so, went left, lived in Texas, got married, and then, my husband got a job here and we moved back. And so I'm really thinking about, what is, how long of a long term,
I am an ambassador, honestly. Like, I've not considered living anywhere else. Seriously, like there was a kind of a job that was on the line in Boston. I was like,
Yeah, Boston is huge for public health.
Yeah, so that's another place. But still, honestly, like I've been to Boston. When it comes to like quality of life, Seattle beats any other city I've been to, like by miles. I just enjoy the air here. It's easier. I sometimes get allergies. It's easier on my health, my respiratory health, even though the wildfires are making it difficult now. But yeah, it's amazing. I love the outdoors. I love hiking. So we live on the east side and we can just take a bus or even go on a walk, and within 10 minutes we're on a trail. Sometimes you even forget that you live in the city. It's that good of an outdoor environment. So yeah.
Yeah, that's one plus for us. Yeah, like you just drive a little bit and you're like postcard beauty.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
And then if you're someone who has kids or wants kids, the school districts are also amazing here.
That's what I hear.
Really good.
That's what I hear. Last question. What advice would you give to someone who's just newly relocating and feeling that pull to go back home, but also wanting to build a new life abroad?
America has really blessed me. It's been a blessing to me. And my qualification in the UK is also something that I cannot trade. So I'll tell the person, it might not be easy in the beginning. There'll be a lot of homesickness, like you miss, especially if you still have family, you miss Nigeria a lot. If you move when you're a bit older, you'll miss so much. Like the freedom that I had as an adult living on my own in Abuja is unquantifiable. Like it was amazing. So to move to the UK and to move here where I barely knew anyone, it was challenging. But I would say that I've also grown in the way I think about Nigeria. Maybe I wasn't very realistic initially. I am very patriotic. Like there was a time like I felt we didn't need to become citizens, for example. Like why do I need to
Also
swear
heavily dependent on
allegiance to another country? But yeah, I think maybe I also was more hopeful then, and I thought the hope was based on solid indices, like Nigeria was improving. So back then, like I would say 10 years ago, I would tell those who were thinking of leaving, like, don't leave, find something. But now I would say, if you've left or you're planning to leave, please do. Even if you're not planning to leave, please do if you find the opportunity to move. Because if you work hard in either the UK, US, Canada, Australia, New Zealand, wherever, if you work hard and you're dedicated, if you have some strong foundations, you will be rewarded. And the sky is the limit. If you want to go back to Nigeria to visit, to live, to give back, you can do all those once you have made some improvements to your life.
To your own
personal life, yeah.
On that note, I just want to say thank you for joining. Thank you for coming all the way. I'm so glad that we got to meet. Thank you for your stories and all the great, insights that you've shared. See you around. See you in church.
Thank you. See you around too.
All right.